Hello and welcome back to another episode of the MindSets podcast. Today I'm joined again by Charles for episode 59. We are absolutely motoring through these now.
We are, yeah.
How are you doing this week?
I'm very good. I'm excited to be here. We've got some consistency on the podcast.
I know, for the first time in a very long time.
So the listeners and viewers will be very pleased, I'm sure.
Indeed. The reels are going to come out. We're going to continue to cancel ourselves on your behalf, especially seeing as you guys are now writing in with what grinds your gears.
Yeah.
And we're just going to take the flak for it. So appreciate you for that, I think. But today we've got two further topics to talk about. We're going to dive straight in. Pardon the pun.
Terrible.
So good. We're going to talk about the enhanced games because this has been extremely controversial in the fitness space for the last couple of weeks. And we think that means it's a good thing for us to weigh in on.
For sure.
For those that aren't aware, you can look this up on YouTube. The enhanced games put out a video where an Aussie swimmer, James Magnuson,
You got it.
decided to take on the challenge of breaking the 50-meter freestyle swimming record, which was 20.91 seconds. And he decided to do that in a bet, essentially, that he could do it within 6 months of training if he was on all the gear that he had access to. And he wanted $1 million Aussie dollars for doing that. And the enhanced games were like, yeah, we back this. We'll make a documentary out of it. And so I would thoroughly recommend going and watching that. What was your opinion of what they made as a documentary on it?
I've got so much to talk about, and I'm glad this came up. And I think there's so many controversial points that we can discuss. But just the first thing that jumped out at me watching this documentary was how good shape that guy got in, man. Like, that guy was in incredible shape.
So for reference, with the beginning of the video, for those that haven't seen it, or for a reminder that those that have, there was a podcast that was going on in Australia, and one of them happened to be friends with James, the swimmer, called him up and said, do you reckon you could break the world record if you were on gear? And he was like, yeah. Now, he had been out of swimming at this point competitively for 7 years. He was a former Olympian and quite successful swimmer. So he took it on, and within that 6 months, they put him on, well, we don't know. This is something we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
They put him on a bunch of stuff. He was able to then train twice a day without feeling the fatigue of training, he was saying.
Yeah, he said something like he trained twice a day for 30 days straight.
Yeah.
Like swimming and then land training, or in the gym, basically.
And just felt fine. And in the end, he almost, I mean, I don't think he's become a meme, but he very nearly became a meme because he was wearing that speed suit, which really was quite tight in areas, and his lats just made him look like he had a tortoise shell on the back of it.
Yeah, he looked gigantic.
Looked like an absolute weapon.
But he's like a big dude anyway. And then, but it's interesting because obviously if you watch the documentary, he was saying how actually that extra muscle mass became detrimental to his performance in the pool.
Big time. And you can kind of see that when he's getting ready. So there's this big build up. You kind of see him going through his training. He's with an elite swimming coach. They give him pretty much everything he could possibly need to achieve this. And then they get him into the pool. And just before he gets in the pool, you can just see this absolute behemoth of a man who's about to go and tear the water apart. And if I'm being completely honest, and I'm sure James is listening to this, it was a little bit disappointing. The time that he was actually putting down, because again, we said the world record is 20.91 seconds, which is what he was aiming to beat. And I think his first attempt was like 21.3 or 20.
I think it was slower. It was like 23.
It was like 23 something. So he was like a lot off it. So they went again, and he wasn't that much faster. And then it was all quite underwhelming.
Sure.
But then, what we didn't know at the time really was that they drafted in this guy, Christian. Christian's is from a Greek heritage, was also former competitive swimmer, I think
it's like Greek Hungarian. I think
so. His surname, I don't want to embarrass myself by pronouncing it, but Charles told me that it was Golomev. That's the only time I'm going to say it. Thank you, Charles.
We'll refer to him as Christian.
We'll just refer to him as Christian. He then got in the pool. And he had been doing, I think at that point, something like 3 to 6 weeks of the same program. And they just brought him in, and they just decided to show this, it felt like, on the documentary, that he was going to have a crack at it to sort of see his bed.
But like, he had been swimming up until much more recently. I think he was at Paris Olympics and could come like 5th in the final for 53.
So he was clearly an elite swimmer as well, but slightly less out of touch with it. And a bit younger. And he got in the pool to benchmark himself for when his test came along at the end of his 12-week program. And just broke the world record. Just straight away. Beat it by 0.02 of a second. But for the fact that was his benchmark was like,
yeah, it was 0.2, wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this is serious. And all of a sudden there was this like gravity of actually, clearly this enhanced stuff works. Because at first, I mean, I was there debating, well, this guy has done 12 weeks of gear, was an elite swimmer, has clearly got the athleticism at some point in his genes to do this, and didn't even get close.
Yeah, I think there's a few things you want to touch on, because I think when you watch that documentary and you read about the enhanced games, what they're trying to demonstrate is that they can take anyone from any age, essentially, and that's like the real shock factor, where like a 33-year-old or a 31-year-old can still break world records, whereas maybe you might associate world record breaking with someone slightly younger, where you look at younger swimmers coming into the Olympics and breaking world records. So there's obviously that factor of why maybe James didn't break the world record after having done all of this immense training and like all of this doping, essentially, or performance enhancing drugs. The other thing, if you rewind all the way back to the start, when they're talking on the podcast, they phone James up and they're like, do you reckon you can just take a collegiate level swimmer or someone who's a good swimmer and put them on this program and get a world record? And he was categorically no. You need to have at least some experience in high level performance in the sport. You need like skill acquisition. You need experience racing. And then the other thing, like, you need to have mental fortitude and resilience to the level and volume of training that you're doing. So for me, it's mental, because you're taking an elite level swimmer anyway. It's not like you're taking me and you're filling me full of drugs, throwing me in the pool, and I can do a world record. So I'm kind of like, these guys are elite anyway, obviously. There's lots of layers to it, but it's like, for me, just, there's a lot of skepticism around it, and like cynicism, which kind of filters into unenhanced sport as well. This guy was doping and only broke the world record by 0.2.
Well, let me just fast forward to the end of the documentary. If you're planning on watching this, then press the skip ahead button for like 30 seconds, because I'm going to tell you what happens at the end of the documentary. This is your final chance. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So what happens at the end of the documentary is we finish the training block and he gets back in the pool and he's actually slower. So he ends up, I think it was a few technique things that he was doing wrong, but when he was trying to get to the line and he was reaching for it, he wasn't continuing to paddle through the line, and he ended up getting within about 0.2 of it again, but not 0.2, sorry, 0.2 of it. So it was like 21.1 is the closest he got to it, but he didn't break it again. And it just wasn't his day. They tried again the next day, still not his day. And that's kind of where it finished, which was a bit disappointing, but it kind of rounds off to the fact that it is very dependent on how you are on a specific time in your training. And again, kind of points to the fact that you have to be elite to even get there. And even if you are doing all of these different things and you're doing all of this elite training for a period of time, it's not guaranteed that you're going to beat a world record that is at the pinnacle of the sport. But then this is something you want to talk about without completely offending the entire elite athletic community. But it does make you question.
Yeah, it has to. And I go, my mood switches and my opinion changes pretty frequently, but I'm definitely cynical and definitely skeptical with elite level sport. And you flick through because actually there were two different world records. There's the super suit world record, when it was legal to swim in these kind of like, I don't know, neoprene suits. They then got banned. And then there's obviously the jammer world record, where you're just swimming in basically trunks. But yeah, so it's hard to overlook the fact. And again, I appreciate that at the elite level of the sport, there's such fine margins when you're breaking world records. Like 1/10, 2/10 is in theory not long, not a big amount of time, but actually to shave that time off is huge, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. I appreciate that at the top level of sport. Like, it's much easier to go from, if we use a running example, go from like 30 minutes in a 5K down to 20 minutes. It's easier to shave off 10 minutes than it is to go from like, I don't know, 16 minutes down to like 15:50. Like, to take off those 10 seconds, it's easier to. So as you get closer and closer to the elite level, it's harder to shave that time off. But you scroll through the comments of that documentary and you're looking at people saying, well, it just makes it even more impressive, the fact that these unenhanced Olympians are setting such fast world records. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way they're not on something that's helping improve their recovery time, their tolerance to training, and whatever. Like there's in my mind, there is no way.
And it takes me back to, there's a documentary on Netflix which was looking into the serious doping issues that athletics had in the 90s and the early 2000s. And I remember there was one guy who has become extremely famous for it and has it's cost him a lot of money, and I think he's done jail time over it as well, with the fact that he was helping elite athletes get hooked up with the right sort of drugs that they needed. But he has made it abundantly clear, and his underlying message was, even now, if you think they're getting better with the drug protocols, that's because they are still so far behind.
Sure.
Like, there are so many different methods that athletes have, and the science is evolving so quickly. I mean, if we literally look at like technology, how everything's got AI now, I reckon that 90% of people could probably go away and speak to ChatGPT about what could a new form of drug look like, and how could I beat the system? And you'd get a pretty good response. And I'm not saying it would guarantee to work on both ends, in that you're going to get away with it and it's going to boost your performance. But more and more people are getting more and more access to the knowledge that they need to be able to build these things. And it's getting more and more difficult. So from my side, I actually think positively of the enhanced games as a sort of an organization, and this also comes from where I'm like, I want to see the true potential of the human body.
Yeah.
And I do understand, and I completely agree with as well on a personal level, being natural. I think that is the beauty in sport, is knowing that you're going up against someone with the same sort of tool set. The only thing that sets you apart is the genes. However, I think it's so cool to see really where the limits are of the human body physically, sort of within. And I know that kind of is contradictory in
I think I felt that as well. It's like it's exciting to see these absolute specimens, which they truly are. They're specimens unenhanced anyway. They're like 6'7", like in amazing shape. Obviously have the predisposition towards being good at swimming, what that looks like, whether it's torso length, leg length, arm length, like they have all of it to be good at swimming. And then just, it's cool to see them be elevated even more by this enhancement. But I think going back to your point where it's like the doping and performance enhancing drugs, they're so far in front of actual organizations that try to test and keep sport clean. I think this is just going to contribute towards that. It can go in two directions potentially. It could help people understand how to do it properly and medically safely, which is like a big thing about this documentary. And all these two swimmers have like a massive team around them that are monitoring all of their health markers, whether it's bloods, whether it's like the size of their internal organs, all of that kind of thing. They
literally have a full run of testing every day throughout the whole program. And so it's not like they're just being sent away with a specialist that tells them what to inject and when. Like they are
supervised.
Super team.
So it's like, obviously that's being funded for the documentary from the enhanced games. But if there's this potential to have an enhanced games, you're going to need to be able to fund that yourself. And if you can't fund it yourself, or you can't fund it to the level where you have all of that medical supervision, does that start to cross and blur the lines between, okay, this is actually really amazing and cool what we can achieve through performance enhancing drugs, versus actually this is medically not safe? And there's so many potential issues, ethical issues involved in that, just because of the money that you need to back the actual taking of the drugs, which is kind of like where my viewpoint is. It's like, I want to keep sport clean, not that it is anyway, but I think this just completely blurs the lines between the two, because you're never going to be able to have, okay, all the enhanced athletes go to this and all the non-enhanced athletes go to this. And it's just like, does it take away from the prestige of going to the Olympics, for example? Because you watch the Olympics on TV and you go, oh, that person ran 9.8 in the 100 meters. I'm going to watch the enhanced game because this person ran 8 seconds in the 100 meters. It starts to ruin the prestige of the Olympics and all of that. So I don't know.
Because here's a question off that. Like in 10 years time, let's say the enhanced games is up and running. It is not an equivalent of the Olympics on scale, but it is, as far as a competition goes, it's got the number of athletes, it's got the different events. You can sit there and watch it. You have two things going on at the same time. You do have someone who is likely to run the 100 meters in 8 seconds. You also then have the Olympics where someone's hoping that they get close to Usain Bolt's world record.
Yeah.
They're on at the same time. Which one are you going to watch?
For me, I'm watching the Olympics. Like, and again, it comes back to this: are you negatively influencing younger generations aspiring to the sport that they're training for? Because they look at, oh, I've got enhanced games over here, and then I've got the Olympics over here. Firstly, if the enhanced games are offering you $1 million for winning, the Olympics, what are you getting? A gold medal. That's not money. That's not funding. Obviously, I understand the prestige behind winning an Olympic gold medal and all of that stuff. And I truly think that that's more valuable than $1 million, whatever. But in terms of actually being able to live off, you want the cash. So firstly, you've got that. And then, I don't know. Secondly, it's just like, is it leading people astray from potentially what's right, what's wrong? I don't know. There's so many like ethical, like
another question.
Yeah, go.
And I'm genuinely, you're going to hate me when I ask you this question, but I'm not trying to cancel you here.
Yeah.
Because I will answer as well. The enhanced games no longer exist.
Okay.
So on these two channels, you have the men's 100-meter final. And on the other channel, you have the women's 100-meter final.
Yeah.
Which one are you watching?
I honestly, and like, I'm not trying to do this to like sit on the fence. It depends who's in the field. For me, truly, like, there's some really exciting men in the 100-meter final. There's some really exciting women in the 100-meter final. I think at the moment, I'm watching the women's because it's just like, it's slightly more competitive. There's a few different kind of rivalries that are brewing within the sport of short sprint on track. But that goes the same for pretty much any sport. Like, I flick on the CrossFit Games, I always prefer to watch the women's field just because it's typically slightly
Such a creep.
just because it's typically the depth of field is a little bit better, and it's a bit more competitive and fun to watch, where often the men's is a little bit more one-sided. But yeah, truly it depends on who's in the field.
And that's very similar to what I was going to say, because I want to watch the better race.
Yeah.
And across the Olympics, the thing that's beautiful about it with all the heats is you really start to get an understanding of who's good where, whereas I don't watch the Diamond League every week.
No.
So I don't know who's a good sprinter all the time. If there was, for example, though, both races, it's been keyed on, it's almost a dead cert that in both races, someone's going to break the world record for the discipline. I honestly would probably watch the men's because it is the fastest 100-meter time ever.
Sure, yeah.
Unless the women's time was supposed to be broken by like half a second, something ridiculous. And I would watch that because it's the fastest time ever. And then I agree with you, I would much rather watch
like a competitive race.
A competitive race where athletes,
or an exciting race,
aren't enhanced.
Yeah.
However, the reason I said 10 years down the line is because I think I would be like that for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But then if it continues to happen where it's a world record that's not even getting danced around, then how quickly does my boredom in watching these races turn to, I want to see this thing get broken every single time I watch it?
Yeah.
And that's what my...
But does that not then get boring? Because it takes away from the novelty of when it happens. Like
we see that in High Rocks every week. A new world record gets broken if some form.
Which is something we need to talk about, But it's like, for example, what's this world record stood for 15 years, I think they said in the documentary. And like a big part of that reason was because they banned the neoprene suits. So it's like, in essence, it's like that world record will always have an asterisk next to it. Obviously, they had some similarities in the enhanced games because the guys wore neoprene suits. So they had that metric kind of consistent between the two. But yeah, it stood for 15 years. So I can understand why people are getting frustrated and they want to see it broken. But if every time you see someone run a race or swim a race or whatever, it doesn't matter, the world record gets broken, it's just like the novelty of that definitely wears off for me.
I think the point is, and it's weird because that's almost against the point, is the enhanced games is to find out what the actual human limit is while being human, even if that means taking supplements. You are still, 100% flesh at that point. And I do think the whole target of their games is to find that maximal world record. But it would be, for me, really cool to see it continuously get broken until that point. And then, like you said, there's the excitement about the fact that this thing might not get broken ever. When you watch it, you're like, amazing. And that's really like, when I think about Usain Bolt's 100-meter world record, I remember watching it live and being like, I've just witnessed history, because I genuinely don't know if I'll ever get to see that be broken again.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. But now it's probably been like nearly 16 years since that. How long? Was that 2008 or was it
Beijing Olympics? Was
Beijing, so 2008.
I don't know if he broke it then after that.
He might
maybe
have broken
did
it
200 in Berlin World Champs or something.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
So I think he broke it in, I think maybe like 2010, let's say.
Yeah,
then
that's
been 15
actually
years.
mental. Yeah.
So it's been 15 years. I'm kind of ready to see it get broken.
Yeah.
Like, Usain Bolt is incredible.
But again, it's just like, it brings me back to the skepticism around it. Why is no one getting close? Like, it's been a long time. So it's like, obviously you look at Usain Bolt and you look at his, again, genetic predisposition. He's a freak compared to every other short sprinter. The guy's tall and slim. And it's just like, that's not how you would generally define a sprinter. And that's, again, why he was so good at running the 200 meters.
And I think athletes and people would try and defend Usain Bolt from what you could be seen to be suggesting.
Yeah.
By saying, well, he is a freak athlete and there are people that are just built different.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Yep.
I went to school with someone called Daniel Gallagher. Also, let's assume he's listening.
For sure he's listening.
Hi, Dan. When we were playing football in PE and when he was playing football for the school against other schools, was just on a different level. Like, saw the game differently, saw all 11 of the opposition where they were at all times, didn't need to be looking at the ball to have the ball in his feet, and just scored a ridiculous number of goals, even though he's playing from central midfield. His brother's also very good at football, professional careers. He then was quite clearly going to be one of the best footballers in the UK. He now plays for Dorking Wanderers. So he was a different level of athlete, and there are other athletes that have gone on to be professional in rugby from my school.
Yeah.
But he is, and like, I'm not saying Dorking Wanderers are bad by any means.
But they're not the Premier League.
But they're not the Premier League.
Yeah.
They're not Champions League, not at all. The interesting thing as well is you take him and you look at his younger brother, and I would have thought his younger brother's a very similar level to him. His younger brother you might recognise more as Conor Gallagher, who is now in the England squad, and is a very good footballer and is well renowned for it. But again, he's not the best in the world. He's not winning Ballon d'Ors right now. So it's really, really difficult, because I at first would have been like, well, yeah, Usain Bolt is just a different athlete. There's not been an athlete like him. He's miles ahead of the competition. But when you're at that level, where you're in the top 1%, it's so hard to be that much better than everyone else. And we're talking...
That's why it's so surprising.
Nearly like 100-meter races. If I turned on the TV right now, it wouldn't be that surprising to see the winner at some track in the middle of nowhere run it in like 10.01, which is nearly half a second slower than the world record.
And then also you watch races, pretty much every race since Usain Bolt stopped running. It's not like there's one guy right out in front. Like, remember back, it's iconic to Beijing. I think that's probably when he set the world record, where he's like, he obviously always started a little bit slower, but through like the middle of the race towards the back end, he's pulling away. He's looking around him. He's pointing. He's like, there's no one even in touching distance. You watch the races now, everyone's within tenths, like super, super close. Everyone's diving for the line. Even when you watch Noah Lyles run against some of the top Americans at the moment, like they're all very, very close. It's like, how is there someone that's... Well, I don't know.
And again, if you're struggling to think about the fact that like half a second doesn't sound very long, but just look at the photos of when he set the world record, how far ahead he was.
There's no one in frame.
There are famous photos of no one in frame, and then you actually look a little deeper, and he's running with his shoelace untied.
Yeah,
like the guy was
looking around like pumping his chest,
literally,
like, amazing.
And one of the things that I think everybody will agree with, and potentially Usain himself, is like, how fast could he have actually gone?
Yeah,
if you really put it down and tried to put the perfect race together. I do think there was it was either the Commonwealth Games which I don't think he could have been involved in. So maybe it was a world champs. The following year or 2 years after he set the world record in Barcelona, he rocked up and said, "I'm going to break my record. I'm going to put down the fastest time ever." The full started and got kicked out.
Yeah.
And I was so gutted for that because I really, really wanted to see this thing happen. And that's something that we won't get to see. And again, is something that maybe the enhanced game should be tapping him up right now.
Hey,
get back on track.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing to watch?
My question.
Yeah.
If you could pick 3 events for the enhanced games to cover now, what would they be?
Are we going like renowned Olympic sports?
Not necessarily, but 3 specific events. So not like a sport, an event.
I'm a lover of middle distance, so I'd say 1500 meters. So if you go, hey, Jakob Ingebrigtsen or Josh Kerr, what are you saying? We're going to sort you out. Like how fast they could run would be wild. So I'd say 1500 meters. I can't say an Olympic weightlifting event because they're all on so much gear anyway. Like I'm honestly, the more I talk about it, I'm sure everyone is. It's just a good way to make myself feel better about why I'm so bad at everything. Everyone's doping. So 1500 meters, I'd love to see the marathon as well. Like,
I was going to say,
a marathon would be really cool.
Definitely be in there.
And then something like, what about rowing? Like imagine the enhancement you could get from rowing. But I mean, swimming's like an obvious choice, and maybe like any sort of cycling event, track cycling is obviously, again, like that's a tricky subject to talk about.
I was thinking cycling as well, but then I'm thinking Olympic distance triathlon.
That'd be cool.
I want to see it across all 3.
Yeah.
I want to see the level of improvement.
Sure.
It's kind of like me getting 3 in 1 there.
Yeah.
But I would want to do the 100 meters, the 100 meter sprint.
Yeah.
I would want to do the marathon for definite, and then I would probably pick something like the triathlon. But I would quite like a strength.
But it's like it's interesting to see what
I know.
I'd love to know what you're actually putting into the body, because it's like it's all cloak and dagger. They're all very open about, it's very medically safe and we're doing all of these testings.
Have no idea.
But and I think that's tactical because they don't want to promote it to make it more accessible. But how are you going to change the person's stack between running a marathon versus, I don't know, shot put or like javelin? Because you don't want to see a top marathon runner. Well, actually, this would be sick. Imagine a top marathon runner like 110 kg running like a sub 2.
Yeah,
would be unreal.
Well, one thing that I would like to know more about as well, because this didn't necessarily get discussed, and I feel like it would change. And I feel like me saying this, I don't know if you thought about this, but you also find this quite interesting. I would want to know, based on what they're giving them, and again, don't necessarily need to know exactly what, but if they come up with any new ways of training that they're able to because of this, and if that new discovery in training actually can cascade into undoped athletes and natural athletes, does that mean that we could actually be pushing the bounds of the natural athletes?
Sure.
Because we've discovered a new methodology that wouldn't have been possible to really, or would have been thought safe enough to try because it could have been seen as too stressful for the body.
Yeah, I think it's just like with any enhancement, it's just your ability to tolerate more volume. And I use the example of Olympic weightlifting because it's so prolific. And these guys are going into the gym in the morning and they're doing heavy front squats and heavy cleans. And then in the afternoon, they're going back and they're doing heavy back squats and heavy snatching or something similar like that. And it's just like your joints and your tendons and your just general muscle and overall fatigue, you can't tolerate that if you're not on something. But what I'm not taking away from is all of these people's ability to go and train hard. And I like to use Lance Armstrong as an example here because obviously it's very well documented. And obviously at the time, pretty much everyone in the pro peloton was doing something in some capacity. I think it's safe to claim that. But why was he the best? One, maybe he had the genetic predisposition. He'd been training in triathlon and swimming since he was very, very young. So he had that kind of aerobic base already. But the guy just trained harder than everyone. Maybe his experience with cancer as well had something like nothing's going to be as hard as dealing and getting over cancer. So this training thing, this is fine. I'm going to push myself really hard. I can't say that for sure, but there might be something in that psychologically. But why was he the best? Because he was freaking ruthless and he trained hard. And it's the same with everyone. It's like these enhanced swimmers, Christian, James, like they still had to train twice a day for however long, they're still pushing themselves in the gym. And in the documentary, he's saying, he's like, I've never been more dialed into actual training. Every single stroke in the pool, every lift in the gym, recovery, nutrition, it was just all on point. And obviously it was handed to him on a plate, but like the guy still did the work. So you can't take away from that. And I'm not saying that it's an easy ride and you just inject yourself with loads of chemicals and you become Superman. You inject yourself with a load of chemicals and then you have to train even harder than you normally would. And you have the ability to push yourself harder. So that for me is like the combination of science and the technological advancement is what is kind of exciting around it. I'm just scared that it blurs the lines and it promotes something that could be done poorly and could then dilute the, I don't know, like the actual non-enhanced games.
I think one thing that is my concern with it is that it does, like you said, if you know that on the line, and I don't know if this is going to be consistent going forward, but if there's $1 million on the line, and like you said, to some people, an Olympic medal, gold to bronze, might not be worth that to them at the time. Does that then take away those athletes that have been possibly pretending they aren't taking gear to go to that because they can walk straight in? They know that they're at a level where they could probably do something if they were given access to even more funding and even more of whatever they need. Does it pull them away from the Olympics, for example?
And clean up the Olympics. Sure.
In a way that ends up being really detrimental to the Olympics because all the world records are no one's getting.
You just have someone who fills their spot. They go, well, this guy who's doping, he's left the field. There's another space for me. I'm going to dope even more and I'm going to win the Olympics.
My concern is, what if we actually do discover through this that no one's really getting within 10% of those world record times?
Yeah.
And do we have to reset?
Oops. Yeah. Everything's got an asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's the potential for that for sure, isn't there? It's interesting. It's like worth considering.
That topic, by the way, great topic.
Yeah.
Enjoy talking about it. That came from a listener suggestion.
Yeah.
So guys, if you've enjoyed that topic and you've got other things that you think we should be talking about, then do let us know because we will more than happily talk about it. And we both really enjoyed going away and doing a bit of looking into the actual records.
I'd for sure like, and swimming is not something that I had any real prior knowledge to other than maybe watching the Olympics and knowing some of the top level swimmers and some of the records. But like, it is very interesting and having a little bit more of a deep dive into the way they train and how they train. Swimmers are psycho. And like there was like some top swimmers at school and at university. These are like same level as rowing. These guys are waking up at the crack of dawn to swim in the morning and then go back to the pool in the evening. And then sometimes they're doing land training or gym training in the same day. And your training is literally staring at the bottom of a pool. Like it's impressive to have that level of commitment to that sport.
Another thing to plug as well. Earlier on in the podcast, where pretty much every episode was a guest episode, I had a guy called Cairo who came on, who was brilliant because he's openly on gear.
Was he?
And bodybuilder, openly on gear. And we basically just have a chat about it. I'm very neutral in that if you want to take it and you know the risks, you do you. I have no opinion on whether or not I think that's a mistake or not. And for him, he made it very clear that he could be going out at weekends smashing all kinds of drugs that he doesn't know where they come from.
Sure.
But instead, he's trying to do something that actually does benefit his life because he wants to do it professionally. And it was a really interesting conversation. He gives a little bit more details about how he trains as well, because it's another thing he highlights, a bit like you said with Lance Armstrong, is just because he's on gear doesn't mean he has to train any less hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And for his physique to change as much as it does on that, he's still having to put in the work. And don't get me wrong, you might have more physiological bang for your buck with your sessions, but you can't just like work half as hard and continue to grow. So
for me, I'm concerned about the long-term health benefits because there's not all that much research behind that or evidence-based, like what if. There's lots of what ifs. And obviously if you're going to have your blood tested at least monthly and have body scans and just like be on top of your medical side of the enhanced performance enhancing drugs. So that for me is like a little bit on the fence, but I'm like, if you want to do it, again, I'm not going to judge you for doing that. That's your choice. I wouldn't do it, but you can. But just don't pretend you're not doing it. And that's where like the moral debate for me lies. You want to compete in clean sport, but you're not clean. That's like crossing the line. And obviously it's like when you're in that bubble I can't say that I've ever been in that bubble, but if you're at the top of the sport and everyone around you doing it, and it's the way you make money, it's very hard to. And I think if you tell yourself the lie again and again and again, everyone's doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or this isn't bad because everyone's like, it's hard to see where black and white is, because there is no black and white. It's just gray right in the middle. But I then had another thought. Just both of the guys that were in the documentary, they'd both been to the Olympics like multiple times. Both of them had won Olympic medals. So for them, their career was done. They were entering retirement. They've done that part of their life.
They've had the best of both.
So it's, exactly. So they've got nothing to lose. Ask someone who's on the fence of, hey, are you going to the Olympics this year with Team GB, or are you going to the Enhanced Games? That's a freaking hard question to answer.
I think this is also like, it's a buffer for retirement, which some of them need.
Yeah, and exactly.
Jack, who's a listener, did weigh in on this. We put this up on the story for anyone's opinions. Jack came in and said, look, if you're not harming anyone else and you're not pushing for other people to do it, it's controlled in a safe way, and you have no intention of lying to people about it, crack on.
Sums up really nicely.
I think that's really
good. Should get him to co-host.
We're gonna move on to the most enjoyable, I've been told, the most enjoyable part of the podcast, which is the grind my gears section. So those of you that haven't heard of this before, me and Charles are generically pretty angry and get frustrated by things.
I think I'm poorly influencing you.
I think, no, what you're doing is you're just giving me an outlet, which I clearly needed. But last week, we actually got a lot of you guys to write in with yours, and that was quite fun to go through. So if you've ever got one, do write in. I actually put that up on the story today, and we have had someone write in with theirs. Do you want to start with yours, and then we'll move on to theirs and mine? How many have you brought with you this week?
Every week I tell you I've got more. I don't want to show you my list. Protein cereals. Because we spoke about the higher protein alternatives. Yeah. I don't want to go down that route. Protein cereal, just every single one tastes horrible. And if you pretend to like it, you are lying to yourself and you're lying to everyone else. Protein cereal is just trash. It tastes horrible. Just buy the nice Frosties or the Crave or the Wheatos or the Shreddies. I don't care. Just buy the normal cereal. Don't fall foul to the marketing of protein cereal.
I agree,
but disagree.
No. Okay, so I think all of the protein cereal brands that try and put whey or like pretty much every piece of their cereal is designed to be protein cereal. As in, like, we're talking about the ones that it's like balls or like chunks of this like wafery thing. Disgusting. So dry.
Oh, it just tastes so bad. I can't explain to you.
People got their recipes that like put milk in it, warm the milk up with
no. Yeah,
you're just
cover it in sugar.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Just don't have it. However,
oh no,
here's a little secret, and I'm not saying it's healthy because it's still very full of sugar, same as most cereal. But Aldi used to do it.
You love Aldi, man.
Lidl nicked it.
Oh,
Aldi no longer makes it, and Lidl still make it. Okay. They do a high protein fruit granola. And if we're talking macros, 27 grams of protein per 100 grams.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty good.
The ears perk up.
It genuinely tastes really good.
But I'm also just,
it's not going to be better than if you just had some like protein.
Normal
oats.
Granola.
It's not going to fill you up as long. You could have normal granola. However, if you did want to get a protein cereal because you're obsessed with telling people you like having protein for breakfast, get that protein granola. I'm a fan of sultanas and raisins, so I drop a couple of those. And when I say a couple, I mean about a bag full on top.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is it's an irrational grind my gears for me. Like if you eat it and you like it, whatever. It's just, it tastes bad.
I do.
It's agree. A bit like if you like coriander or you don't like coriander. But I'm not having a dig at any protein cereal companies, but I've tried a few and they all taste just like trash.
I'd say that most of it just tastes not natural as well. So it tastes surreal. I wouldn't also say that the flavor is quite elite. I would say that it's pretty bang average.
Tough. That's almost like we rehearsed this, and that he's responsible for all of that.
What? I was just my adjectives and vocabulary is excellent and definitely not primed. I agree. For a first grind my gears, I think that's actually relatively tame. But
okay,
I completely agree.
Fine.
I don't think many people will argue against you, unless they've got discount codes in their bio. The the one that we've had written in, and I'm so on board with this one, by the way. We've had, I think it's Jasmine, based on your Instagram name. That's what I'm going with. We'll call you Jazz. That's what it was. Jazz said, it really pisses me off when people get off the tube and don't have their card ready to pay at the gate, especially when it's busy.
I love this.
So for context, for those that don't live in London, we've got the tapping system. A lot of people do it with their phones, but people will be like texting when they're walking to the gate that they need to open, and there'll be like 8 people behind them, and then they'll like finish their text before they go to the card and just don't seem to care that there are people. I don't know where you thought you were going, where you thought you didn't need your card at this particular point, but I could have told you 3 days ago that at this specific point in your journey, you need your card ready. And you're not.
So frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, man. I think also just any poor etiquette around barrier systems. Just have some considerates. That's not a word.
Consideration.
That's it.
Considerates.
Yeah. For everybody else rather than just you. Like, you know, when you go on an actual train and you have the QR code that you have to scan from Trainline, why is that so confusing for people? Pull it up, scan it, go through. There's people trying to like scan the QR code where you do your contactless payment and just like, what are you thinking is going to happen? Or like at the airport where you scan your boarding pass. You know you're going to have to do that. Oh, man.
Quick thing, because I need to get back to what the original Grind My Gears was. But people thinking that it's funny to print an oversized boarding pass for a stag do. It was funny, and now it's just not.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just you're in the way.
Yeah.
Going back to
funny,
that was a side gear glider. Going back to the original though, it made me think about something else that I don't know if I've mentioned before, but used to be on my Grind My Gears notes page, I'm sure, but I couldn't see it there. When you go to a supermarket with self-checkout, not that people aren't ready to pay, they just stood at the front of the queue not looking at the tills. I'm stood here, I can see 3 tills available, and you're stood there looking at the one person who was in front of you, waiting for them to be done.
Yeah.
Why are you taking half an hour?
No, I get it as well. These are like such little things that just daily annoy me.
They do annoy. And the thing is, I will stare at that person.
I'm just like, you're causing me inconvenience for the sake of just not being on it.
I reckon there's 10, I think it's gone down to 10 seconds. I would say that could also be generous. 10 seconds before I tell them where one is.
Or you just walk around them and go to it.
Oh, I don't know if I've got there yet.
I'd rather do that than talk to them. I think this says a lot more about us. I think everyone else is just chilled.
Do you know what's brilliant?
I'm not chilled in that situation. I'm like in and out. I want to get in and out.
You've opened my eyes to something there, because being in Britain, you could walk past someone and go straight to the till when there's only one available.
Oh yeah, and they won't say anything.
Yeah,
I would never say anything.
No, neither would I.
Have at it. I respect
it. That's a really good. That's a good tactic.
But it's just also, this is what was on my Grind My Gears, but I was like, it's not really relevant. But now this is relevant. People who just walk 3 wide on the pavement, or like walk slowly, or like stop. And I'm like, walk on the pavement as if you're driving a car. If you need to stop, look. Go to the side.
Also, just generally pick a side.
Or just, you walk by
people that are in the middle.
Oh man, I'm passionate about
this.
And
here's another thing that spins off from this. Wow, this is a real avenue of Grind My Gears. We're like going down a road and spotting things. So actually, when people see you on a run, and rather than them moving out of the way, assume that you're going to go around them because you're the one that's being a little bit more active and mobile. In actual fact, I'm a freight train that finds it really difficult to change direction. If you step out or are in the middle of the pavement, I need you to move. Yeah, if possible. I'm not going to expect that from you, because
I've had it a lot of times where I've like shimmied and then they've gone the same way, and then we've shimmied back and they've gone the same way, and you're like, I'm running straight into you now.
I was gonna say, I would rather run through you and apologize. It's that classic thing of like do and apologize. I'd rather run through you and apologize than tear my ACL trying to get around you.
For sure.
It's a little bit selfish.
Yeah, I'm just
one's
like,
an accident, one's not.
Just have some consideration for other people, and some spatial awareness.
I'm going to get off the topic of this road, and I'm going to talk about my Grind My Gears. My Grind My Gears this week is a gimmick.
Excellent.
At least I'm deciding it's a gimmick, and I'm going to show you and the lovely watchers, sorry listeners, you should get on YouTube, what I have got.
I just got a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
So, this is a good one.
This is a good one. So this
is excellent.
Is known as the Omnius or Omius headband. So for those of you that aren't aware, with the redevelopment of hybrid fitness and running, we are seeing all of the crazy stuff come back with fashion. Back in the 80s and 90s when running was popular, we saw the shell suits, we saw the sweatsuits, everything sweatband, all of this. It's back. We have sweatbands, and the Omnius headband, I'm going to get a picture up here.
I actually didn't know what this did.
Neither did I. I went and looked at it today because I really wanted to know. So for those that are watching, you can see it. I'm going to try and move the iPad a little bit closer.
I could help, but
oh God, a sign has come up. That's going to grind my gears. This is so hard.
This is a grind my gear.
This is an ick, actually. So basically what we've got, for those that aren't listening and are doing...
Wait, let me have a look as well.
So it's essentially a headband, but on the front of the headband are what looks like metal bristles that come off the front and specifically just across the forehead.
Oh my God.
Now, that reaction is completely raw, because what Charles has done is he's zoomed out and he has seen the price of this thing. This headband is $204 for a sweatband. $204.
Oh no, if you don't want the cooling pieces, it's $25.
It is $25 if you don't want
Imagine just wearing that.
And what that means, though, is that the cooling pieces, which you insert into for those that've seen it, it's like little squares of these metal bristles that you put in. That means that those are valued at $175. And you need, and it makes this explicitly clear in the description, every product needs 20 to work. If you don't have all 20, product doesn't work.
This is terrible.
That's the face of it. I'm trying to describe it. Now let's actually talk about it. They claim that these bristles, or these metal packs that you add on for cooling, what they do is they aid your skin in being able to transfer the heat more efficiently by providing a larger surface area for the heat transfer to the sort of greater elements.
No.
I don't even know where to fucking start with this one. This is absurd.
I've actually seen some top level marathoners wearing those as well, not just Hyroxers.
I've seen,
Surely you're only wearing that if it's a sponsor. You're getting paid to wear that.
I don't even know if I was sponsored if I could wear this.
I wouldn't get sponsored by them in the first place.
No, I mean
that is terrible.
$204.
It looks like a washing up scrubbing brush.
It really does. And this is, I mean, we do have pictures of athletes wearing them.
Is that the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence? Oh no, maybe I just made that up.
I couldn't tell. I wouldn't want to claim who it is because I don't think much of them if they're wearing one. I'm joking. I don't think that decides how good you are as an athlete. You're just doing smart things with your sponsorship. But if you aren't doing smart things with your sponsorships and you're prepared to pay $204, please.
No one's bought that. Check the reviews.
Do let us know. And what we'll do is we'll sign up and we'll do a Patreon where you can send that money instead. And we'll do a lot more with it.
But I'll make you one of those.
You'll make me one.
Yeah, for half the price.
You can get one of the scourers.
I'm going to do that next Hyrox.
Maybe we should, we'll just run with scourers on our forehead. Because apparently, do you know what? I would say that scourers got a greater surface area than any of those Bristol things. But that really has been great.
That's a good one. Yeah, for sure.
What could be worse? And I just noticed this while I'm on the page. There are 11 reviews. And the average review is 4.5 stars.
I wonder what they've marked it down for. Bit expensive.
It was a hot summer in the Northeast and I had 2 full marathons to train for. This little headband changed my life. I was able to maintain my target paces in the heat and run in days that were way too hot. I also used it when traveling in Puerto Rico and it helped me keep going there for 10 miles in the tropical heat, where other times I've had to tap out after only 6. It doesn't do quite as well in extremely high humidity as it does more in temperature heat. The cooling sensation goes away after a few minutes, but it keeps cooling you. It's like a heat sink for your head. Absolute magic.
No,
so
placebo.
There we go. It stops working after a few minutes, but he was able to use it for 2 marathons.
Well, if you can afford to frequently go to Puerto Rico. Then...
Game changer. Thank you, Kristen. So it might have been a girl. I shouldn't have assumed. It's...
No, everyone
pissed me off.
Everyone's going to agree with us on that one. Show me the science.
Sorry, we don't need the science. Timothy has said, so cool, literally. Great from Timothy. Absolutely unbelievable. Right,
let's move on.
Let's move on. The next topic actually ties in, and I'm going to make it tie in with the first topic. How seriously should you be taking your sport? for some people, I would say taking certain drugs to get slightly faster at something like high rocks probably isn't worth the risks in terms of healthcare. It might increase your enjoyment because of the perceived level that you are at in comparison to other athletes. But I would say, for example, that could be a bit far. But then this ties into how serious you should actually be taking your sport in general. Because if you look at what we do, you're a coach, I work in filming people doing sport. We both have an enjoyment for actually doing the sport ourselves and the training. I would say there's a large amount of times in my life where I've probably gone a little bit too far and spent too long training for what I actually needed as a benefit, but also was sacrificing things that I probably shouldn't have sacrificed considering I'm not pro athlete.
Yeah.
Where is that line for you?
It's so tough. I feel a bit seen. I think there's the one thing for me, and I'll talk from personal experience first. I think the one thing for me is like, it's fun to feel like you're a professional athlete. And that's something that I've always aspired to be since I was tiny little. Like I've wanted to do something professionally in sport. And I probably will say this about you as well. You probably experience the same thing. You're like, I want to do professional sport because why? It's sick. It's a great lifestyle. And it's like probably a massive blessing and an honor to represent your country for whatever sport or do whatever. Obviously, I'm not on that level. So what I can do behind the scenes is train and act like an athlete in as much as I can. And I think I did that a lot when I was younger, kind of lived this lifestyle of being an athlete and everything aligns to that one goal. But yeah, as I've matured, I've kind of got over the fact and I appreciate now that it's never going to happen. But what I wouldn't, and now talking about everyone else, I wouldn't want to take that away from anyone else because in reality, it's just a hobby, isn't it? And you can take your hobby as seriously or unseriously as you like. Something like playing golf, I take that very seriously. I'm not particularly good at it, but it's like, I want to take that really seriously. And when I go and play, I want to play well. I want to improve. I want to get good equipment. I want to spend time or invest in myself to get better, whether that's with lessons. And you don't have to be a professional to take it seriously, right? But yeah, I think where it maybe crosses the line is just like your emotions attached to performance, right? And again, I'd be a hypocrite to say that I don't get emotional when I don't perform at the level that I want. But yeah, I wouldn't want to take it away from anyone else. If you want to take your sport really seriously and buy the cooling headband, then you go and do it, all right? You go and maybe that's the line. Once you buy that headband, you've crossed the line.
Because there's multiple sides to this where I agree. I think as long as it makes you happy. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to apply gambling methodology to this. When the fun stops, stop.
Yeah.
But like up until then, if you're enjoying
nice
it, it's not damaging your life.
Yeah.
I think whatever you could be doing to
and other people around you, right? Yeah.
I think is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think with anything, and I don't know if this is because there seems to be slightly different neurology for those that do like participate in sport to certain levels, but if I get the bug for a sport, I want to know everything about it.
Sure.
I want to get all the best stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is an issue when some sports are quite expensive. When you talk about golf,
yeah,
I want good clubs.
Yeah.
When
Cycling.
I go and play paddle, I'm bad at paddle.
Yeah.
But paddle, I assume it is just called a paddle that you
yeah.
with.
That is expensive.
So expensive.
Yeah.
It is. However, give me 3 weeks of playing with a bad racket and I'm going to tell you I need a better racket.
Do you know what's interesting? Actually, I was going to bring this up anyway. You kind of like made the segue. Is it a segue?
Sure.
Isn't that what
that's
the
a
thing,
great sport?
The thing you stand on. That's not what I want to talk about. So I was reading actually, and it's about golf, but I don't want to make this about golf, but buying better equipment when you are worse at something is actually more benefit than when you're very good and having the good equipment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because like the gap between, so it's like if you have a better golf ball, you have a Pro V1 or a Pro V1X, like the technology within that ball is actually going to benefit you more as a worse player. You just have more to lose because you're probably losing that ball in the woods or the lake.
Just as
same with like tennis rackets, golf clubs.
You can tell how good you are at something like golf because if you go and ask about getting a lesson and you ask someone, "Are my clubs good for me?"
Yeah.
If they go, "Yeah, they're really forgiving," you're shit at golf. Because the clubs have been designed to make sure that you've
like graphite sharp, cavity back.
Your terrible ability is being helped as much as possible by the clubs.
Yeah.
However, like you said, if someone came over and they were like, oh, you could probably do a stiffer shaft, all of this. Now we're actually talking about the fact that you're better at golf than most. There are things that could help you, but it's not going to help you as much as, like you said, all of that forgiveness is going to help a person that's not very good.
Yeah.
But again, this goes into another avenue, which is the standards within a sport. Because if we take an example of walking into a public gym, right? If someone is not squatting to depth, I'm past the point now where I don't really care. Like you're coming here, you're moving, depending on how you look, whatever, you're doing what you want to do. I'm going to assume that you know that you're not hitting arse grass and you're fine with that.
Also, even if you don't care.
Yeah, and like you're not competing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn this into a
You're not like competition.
Go lower. However, you take the same person and they go to a powerlifting meet.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I've got a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a powerlifter. But if you're not going below 90 on your squat, or you're not doing the pause for the amount of time, and you're not listening to the control properly, then I do have a problem.
Or also put it in the context of High Rocks. If that person then goes to race at High Rocks, maybe you're not in the same category, or you're not the same times or whatever. They're not really your competition. Because in reality, in High Rocks, you're racing the clock. Unless you're at the top of the sport and you're the elite 15, that's the only real time where you're racing other people. You lose track in your wave as well. Who's in your wave? You're not racing it. You're racing the clock. But if you have a standard, it needs to be standardized and like it needs to be upheld. And I understand, and I don't want to make this about High Rocks. I understand the sport's in its infancy. I understand the judges at the wall ball station are all volunteers. I understand, because I've been in this situation as well in CrossFit competitions. It's very difficult to tell someone that they're doing it wrong, especially at the end of the race. They're tired and you go, no rep. And I understand that's why they're starting to introduce the technology for hitting the target. That's great, but it doesn't then help if you're not hitting depth. So then they have that weird box thing and whatever. So I come at this from two different angles. One, again, I'm not racing them. It's me against the clock. My time's going to stand either way, whatever their time is. If they don't hit depth, whatever. I don't care. But from the other point of view, from the coaching perspective and like the standards and understanding the movement mechanics and why you would squat, it's just like, there's no point in having a standard if it's not going to be upheld. So yeah, but I get this was actually going to be one of my grind my gears. Not so much the standard thing, but you should see my inbox. And I think it's because I come from a CrossFit background where like the standards are like a whole nother thing. We need to talk about that as well. But the volume of messages I get of people sending me reels of High Rocks races of people not hitting depth. And I'm like, guys, just stop. I've seen them, or I've seen them before. Keep sending them to me.
So I have like a really...
Thanks.
I don't have like a solid concrete opinion on this.
Yeah.
Because there are events, like other races, other things that you can get involved in, as well as High Rocks, that are policed while you're there, and there are standards that are in the rule book, and they're not necessarily upheld throughout, dependent on the individual. And fundamentally,
sometimes I get it.
That defeats the point.
Yeah.
But if, for example, we have, and if we look at Cardiff, right, there was an amazing 80-year-old man who completed the race, and he did it in something like 2.5 hours, might have been just slightly longer than that, but just unbelievable that 80, he was there, like happy doing all of it, got through it all. If I'm the wall ball judge and he comes in, this 80-year-old, he's not breaking a world record. He's not going to win any money.
Yeah.
He's doing this for himself. If he is getting not quite below depth, but he's able to do it with this 6 kilo ball, and he's done all these other stations beforehand, I don't care.
Yeah.
Unless, and I say to him, do you know what I might do? I might be like, just get a little bit lower for me. And if he turns around and he's like, okay, yeah, and he seems keen to be, then I'll push him on it.
Yeah.
But if he's not, and he's absolutely knackered, I don't care. Like, you do you, enjoy the event, get through. Because the other thing, like you said, they're volunteers. I don't want to ruin someone's day and someone's race by being an arsehole. That's where a head judge comes in. But also, I do understand that I don't think it's fair that I don't no rep someone when the person next to me is giving out no reps if I'm a judge. and their person then ends up losing said race against the clock versus the person that I was judging who ends up overtaking them on the wall balls because they were better, or on the burpees, whatever. And it's the same with things like Tough Mudder, where you have these assault courses and they're supposed to be a penalty.
Yeah.
Don't do them, but sometimes you just get let through. And I do think that there almost needs to be an understanding of when standards are enforced. And I mean, if anyone from like ROXD in the administration wants another way of getting more money, here you go. What I think could work well in a sport like this is if you wanted to, say, have a qualifying time or have a verified time, you pay an extra £10 per athlete, and a judge is assigned to you on every station, and they stick with you for the entire station, and those judges are paid.
Yeah.
You are essentially paying a set of judges to make sure you're holding the standards throughout. You get through, and it's a verified time. Then, if you appear on social media and you're not hitting depth, you deserve to be told. And to be fair, the judges should have been doing their job at the time. But if you're not a verified time, then whatever. And so if I went onto my phone and someone has just broken a world record over in Berlin, they've set a 47 minutes dead on a men's open.
You want to go and see,
but they
it's
didn't choose for a verified,
yeah.
then cool. But you're not a verified time, it's not a record.
Yeah.
I think that's how I would approach it.
Sure.
But you still have the issue with things like ROXD and all of these other races which are outdoors, where it's not like a standardized course. Like each course has its own thing. So it's also quite difficult, and that's a whole different topic in itself. But I do think there needs to be an understanding within amateur sports in general of when it's okay to be that critical.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because this does like roll in from what we were just talking about. It's like the people who are getting upset, are you just taking it a bit too seriously? Because if you take a step back and just rationalize everything, is this person who's not doing the movement standards correctly, maybe their feet aren't in line when they burpee in a ROXD race or whatever it happens to be, or they're not doing wall balls to depth or whatever, are you getting upset about that for what reason? Like maybe they got a faster time and now you're upset. And I can understand why that would be frustrating for you, but it doesn't affect anything. It's not like you're on a worldwide leaderboard. It's not like you're making prize money. You haven't lost the sponsorship deal. So I can understand why it should be far more standardized and policed at the top of the sport. Where if I'm seeing, and actually you do see this, some people like borderline depth squatting, I would call that person out because they're one of the best. They have the fastest times, but actually you're not doing the movement correctly. Maybe that's why you've got your fastest time. So for the top of the sport, for sure, for amateur level, it should be standardized, but I understand that there's a lot of moving parts for ROXD currently. So yeah, if we take this back to, I know some of the people who listen with like CrossFit backgrounds and whatever and train CrossFit, the thing that frustrates me most with the movement standards within the sport of CrossFit, less so them being upheld, but they're constantly changing. So it's like the standard is never standardized. So I can do a qualifier for one competition, and typically the way that CrossFit comps work, you do an online qualifier, you film it, you send it in, it gets watched by a judging team and they verify it, whatever, get put on the leaderboard. But I can do one competition where the standards for, let's say, a burpee box jump over is very different from another competition for the standards of exactly the same movement. So it's like, just make it consistent. Get rid of anything that causes any doubt. It's like hand positions and head positions on handstand push-ups, or it just make it the same for everything. Like remove all doubt, and that way you have no clashing of heads and everyone knows the standards and it is what it is.
One other sort of perspective to take on this is when you are at such an amateur level that the refereeing or the umpiring of your sport is done on a volunteer basis.
Oh.
So I'm thinking back to when I was playing cricket younger, or even like when I was playing other schools in sports and our PE teachers had to be the referee.
Yeah.
How okay is it for me to get annoyed at that person?
Oh, yeah.
Because if they are volunteering, giving up some time.
That's creating the issue, I think, as well.
Yeah, but like if I was a bowler.
Yeah.
If I clear cut got someone LBW.
Yeah. Oh.
To the point where the batsman started walking off.
Yeah.
And the umpire saying, I don't think that was. Or is just contesting it because they weren't sure. I want to be annoyed because I have done everything I needed to do my job and whatever. And you're not experienced enough or weren't paying attention enough. But I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
you are there and you're doing probably a decent enough job the rest of the time.
Yeah. It's so hard, isn't it?
It's so difficult.
It makes my skin crawl when I see people shouting at judges, whatever comp you're doing or refs. That's actually one of the main reasons why I stopped watching football. Is just I hate the way that professional footballers, like role models to so many millions of kids, turn around and start screaming profanities at the ref. And like, compare that to rugby, which I watch a lot of. One person speaks to the ref and it's the captain. And if you want to talk to the ref, you go through the captain, and the captain walks over, he calls the ref sir. And it's like, you don't back chat to the ref, and if you do, instant yellow. And you see it, like the difference between getting yellow carded in a rugby game. The player already knows that they've done something wrong. They literally accept it. They're probably already walking off. Yellow card. Football, yellow card. I'm going to shout at the ref. What's he going to do? He's going to upgrade it to a red. I don't understand the shouting and just like the theatrics around rolling around on the floor. I just want
one step further than rugby as well. One of my favorite things when I was playing American football, and in American sports, they're hot on this, is talking to the referee. So in rugby, you might get away with saying one or two things, or not speaking at the ref. You might just be like, "Oh, boys, this ref's a joke."
Yeah.
Right. You might get a warning. You might get nothing for it if the ref's being all right.
5 meters or something. Yeah.
But in American football, you could be like, the ref's fucking blind, whatever. Cool. Your whole team has gone back 10 yards instantly.
Yeah.
Do it again. Your whole team's gone back another 10 yards.
Yeah.
Do it again, and now you might be coming off the pitch.
Yeah.
Your coach has probably already pulled you off because you just did detriment to the team.
Yeah.
And I remember, we played some games where we played pretty well on paper. We'd sit down and our coach would be like, yeah, we lost 90 yards to penalties because X, Y, and Z wouldn't shut up. We can't be doing it. And the thing is, well, you can get penalized when you're not on the field. So if there was a referee who decided that something was a fair catch from their team when there was all sorts of stuff that they did before this catch, and you were like, surely you saw him do this on the sideline. Cool, your whole team's gone back 15 yards.
Yeah.
It's you, and you weren't even on the field. And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I rate that. It honestly cuts the bullshit out of the sport very quickly when it gets going. And in a big game where you have a back and forth, like, it's cringe to call it a game of inches, but you can lose your team the game.
But just poor discipline. Yeah, for sure. But I'm like, it's so easy to sit here and say that now, because like the amount of times that I've said something to the ref, or like muttered something under my breath and got in trouble for it, just because like being inherently competitive, it's so frustrating in the moment and you can't rationalize it. Whereas actually in the grand scheme of things, it's not that deep, and you're just like, the poor ref I've just screamed at is like just a normal guy who's doing us a favor by reffing. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, just if you take anything away from this, it's like, don't scream at your poor judge. They're doing their best. And if they're calling it a no rep, it's taking you more time to spin round, scream at them, to argue the point, rather than just doing another rep.
Yeah. And you're probably not going to remember this years down the line. I'm just trying to think of an example where I've been penalised. I can't think of one. But I know that I was getting annoyed by things at the time.
Oh,
same current
loads.
as well. Okay, maybe different.
I'm the worst guy.
But I'm aware, and I almost forgot. We need to do the ROXD section.
Yeah,
now,
we're getting carried away.
For those that didn't watch the last episode, we did name as many as you can. It was good fun. Actually, one thing that I need to pick up on, if anyone's come here from the TikTok video where Charles successfully named 12 Formula One, you said you were really happy about that performance.
Yeah.
TikTok thought you were a joke.
Really?
TikTok was disappointed that we didn't start at 40 odd names.
I'm so glad I don't have TikTok.
And I replied to one of them like, it's quite impressive if you can name 40 people in 60 seconds without repeating yourself, alone drivers' champs.
Keyboard warriors, get in front of the camera, get under the pressure.
Exactly. Like, what? How am I supposed to name 40 world drivers' champions? Someone was just like, why wouldn't you just name all the world drivers' champions? Well, because I can't just think of them like that, even though I'm a big fan of the sport.
Yeah. No,
anyway,
it doesn't work like that.
Anyway,
how many views did that get? Interesting.
Behind the scenes stuff. I think it was on like 2,500.
There you go.
Follow
us on TikTok.
So what we're doing this time, well, you're bringing it technically this time. What are we doing that's different?
21 questions this time.
So the aim being that you guys as listeners can see if you can beat us to the answer. Are you going to start off asking questions, or are you going to start off with a thing?
I have
something.
I have the something.
You have the
and
something.
You're going to ask the 21 questions and see if you can get the
Okay.
thing within that time.
I think I can get it in one question.
I don't think you can.
Okay. You ready?
If you can, it's just going to be so bad. If you get this in one question, the podcast is done.
Cool. Give me £1 million.
No.
That means I'm so getting this. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Is it a Bosu ball?
It's so funny that I thought about doing that as well. For sure, I was going to do that. I was like, oh, no, it's not. That was very good, though. Okay. That was a good guess.
Is it alive?
Yes. Wait, your Bosu ball counts the question.
Yeah, it does count.
You've got to, you're on to.
So it is alive. Is it an animal?
Yes.
God, that was a hell of a pause. Is it something else as well as an animal?
No.
Okay. Does it have 4 legs?
No.
Does it have 2 legs?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, this can count as a question, but are you being annoying because it does have 2 legs, but it's also got more legs? So has it got like, I don't know, I was going to say, has it got 3 legs?
It's technicalities.
That's technicality. So it's got 2 legs. I
think also I was being annoying with the animal one as well.
Okay, is it a person?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Glad we cleared that up. I've lost count.
Okay, so next question I'm going to go with is, so they are alive. Are they a famous athlete?
Yes.
Do they do a sport where running is involved?
Yes. Well, I think we're on like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I'm losing count.
Okay, we'll say I'm on 9.
Okay, that was very fair of you.
Are they a champion at their sport?
Yes.
Currently?
Yeah.
So that's 11.
Glory lives forever.
Are they male?
No.
The PC thing of me would be to ask if they're female or what do they identify as. But I can't
speak on their behalf.
I'm gonna take the fact that they're not male. I'm gonna ask, does they play tennis?
Yes. How have you gone for that, man?
Is it Serena Williams?
It isn't.
Is it Venus Williams?
No. Those are waste questions. I wasn't even counting, but we're on like 12 or something now.
No, we're on way more than that. We're on like 14.
All right. You're just like, I'm gonna now name every female tennis player that I know.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
But my knowledge of tennis recently in the last few years has been really bad.
Oh.
So this hasn't been good. Did she win Roland Garros?
No.
Has she won a major this year?
No.
Okay. Is she English?
Yes.
Oh shit. Because I really should know.
Oh, well, again, technicalities.
Technicalities on if they're English. Damn.
She plays under the nationality of Great Britain.
Oh, I wish you hadn't done this because I'm really, really struggling for.
Oh, you're gonna kick yourself as well.
I know. I think I know who it is. I've genuinely just forgotten her name. But the remaining questions.
I don't even know what question we're on, so
let's say 16.
Okay.
5 questions left. Does her name begin with L?
No.
Cool.
Out of all the questions you could have asked, you just no. Okay, I'm not giving you any more.
It needs to be like yes or no questions. I can't ask you for like.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you anything. Everyone's screaming at home. I know it. You know it. They know it.
I know it. I just don't know it at the same time. Because I'm trying to. All I know at this point is I'm going for a name of the person that I can see in my head, and her name has just it is so far out of my head at the same time is really, really annoying. Is her first name begin with an E?
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like It's not. Oh no! See, this is really annoying because I also don't want to take so long that people just tune off the podcast.
Especially because everyone at home listening knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I kind of want to give up because
No, you've got
I'm
two
taking
more
too long.
questions.
I know.
You can't give up.
It's not. Oh, I don't think it's Emma. Is it Emma?
What kind of
First name?
question? Yes.
First name is Emma. Great.
So 50% of the way.
I've got Emma, and for some reason I can't.
You should have just been like, "Oh my god, it's Emma,"
yeah,
and then just
confidently just been like,
you know, Emma.
You know Emma. Everyone knows Emma, but me right now.
Come on.
Does her second name begin with L?
No.
I've got one.
Why have you got that in your head?
I don't know. I'm an absolute failure, and I sincerely apologize to everyone listening.
I kind of just want to put you out of your misery.
I really kind of want you to, because I know that I think her surname isn't.
It doesn't begin with L.
It doesn't begin with L. I don't think it's like classically British, which is what's throwing me off and making it really hard for me to remember.
You would be correct.
Just put me out of my misery.
Raducanu.
Fuck's sake.
Because you asked so few actual questions, you just spent the time like trying to remember this person's name.
I was getting, do you know what makes no sense? I was getting her surname confused with a famous actor's surname, and she's been in some big films. And something like Raducanu came into my head, and I was like, no, that's that actor.
Oh, you'd be gutted.
But I also now can't remember the actress's name.
Oh, fine.
Okay.
Well done.
That was disastrous. Sorry for everyone at home. But it's now your turn.
I'm excited.
And
hopefully I can do a better job.
I've got two things that I want to pick between. And based on that, I kind of want to pick the harder one. So I have to put you out of your misery, but that would also make the episode slightly longer.
Everyone's like, go for the easier one.
Yeah.
Let this episode be done.
Okay. I'm going to go for the easier one. And I'm going to say, I've got it.
Okay.
So now you can start asking questions.
Is it an animal?
No.
Do you have one?
No.
You can own it though.
Yes.
Do I have one?
No.
Would I be embarrassed if I had one?
No.
Oh. Is it made out of metal?
Yes.
Is it hard to obtain?
Yes.
Can you buy it?
No.
You earn it?
Yes.
It's not just metal. It has other materials.
Yes. 10 questions so far.
Does it come in a variety of metals?
Yes.
Are the metals precious?
Yeah.
Do the metals come in different colors?
Yes.
Is it a medal?
Yes.
But you want a specific type of medal?
A specific one because you got that.
Is it an Olympic medal?
Yes.
What more do you want from me?
More.
It's the Olympic gold medal.
No.
Oh. So it's okay. What's that? That's 16.
16.
So we've got an Olympic medal, and you want more detail than that?
Yeah.
Is the medal associated with a specific sport?
No.
Is the medal associated to a specific Olympics?
No.
Right, you've thrown me now. I was banking on it just being a medal, and you're like, yeah, oh my god, you got it in like
I'm
10
being
questions.
a bit of a dick.
Yeah,
you
but
have
shock.
basically got it. You have basically got it.
So I've got an Olympic medal that's not specific to a sport. Is it a specific position?
Yes.
Okay.
You're 19.
Oh, so and it's already not a gold medal.
No.
Is it an Olympic silver medal?
Yeah.
Come on.
I was hoping through your stupid questions
shame.
you'd go gold. Is it an Olympic gold medal? And I go no, and that would throw you so far off. You would go away from it. Damn, you actually got to medal within like 9 questions.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with that.
That was annoying.
Because after like 2-3 questions, I was like, I have no idea what this could be.
Yeah.
Objects are way harder than people. Because there's just so many.
Way easier by the looks of it.
No, but I'm very good at the game.
Okay. I can let you go again if you want. I can let you do the harder one.
No, I had the best one in my head. If we were going to do another one,
go on, let me do one more. Let me do one more.
All
let
right.
me redeem myself, and by that I mean further embarrass myself. Okay.
I'm so excited for this one.
Is it alive?
No.
Okay. Do I own it?
No. You're just going to steal my questions now.
Yeah, because they're good questions. You got it in. You got it in like 9. Okay, I don't own it. Can I buy it?
For sure. Yes.
Can I hold it in my hand?
Yeah.
Do I use it if I own it?
Yeah.
I do. Okay. Would you look at it and go, that's cool?
No.
Okay. Would I want to own it?
No.
I wouldn't want to own it.
That's 7.
Okay. Would I keep it on the floor?
Yeah. That's such a niche question.
I'm just starting to think you've gone with Bosu Ball again. I wouldn't keep it on the floor.
No, you would.
Oh, I would keep it on
Yeah.
the floor. Okay.
Well, I mean, like, if you're going to put it somewhere, you'd probably just put it on the floor.
Okay. Would I use it daily?
Yeah. You'll understand when you find out why these are.
Okay. Does it make a noise?
No. Well,
Is it fragile?
no. I want to rewind to the make a noise thing.
Okay.
Because, like, you don't have it for it to make a noise. But
Okay.
when it functions, like most things, it makes a noise.
Okay.
You know, like if I used my phone, the tapping.
Okay. Is this sport related?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've lost count again. I think that's 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Could be wrong. Maybe it was 11. I've lost the finger thing.
Okay.
Let's just say it's 16.
I lost the finger thing. The ability to count.
Yes. I can't multitask.
So, okay, you just put it on the floor. It kind of makes noise when it's doing its thing.
You when you use it, it will make a noise. I feel like I've made that way more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay, when you use it, it makes noise. Whatever.
Everything makes a noise when you use it, pretty much.
Can I wear it?
For sure.
Oh.
When it's not on the floor.
Is it a pair of shoes?
No.
But you just put it on the floor.
Yeah. I just like,
You
it's
wear
so
it,
logical
you're on the
to me, knowing what it is. Where else would I put it?
That's thrown me off so much.
Oh, shame.
It's not shoes. Okay. I didn't. That's such a waste of a question. As I say, does it go on your feet?
Does it have legs?
Does it have legs?
Neither of those are questions.
No,
You
no,
can't
no,
ask
no,
don't ask the feet one.
I can wear it. It just goes on the floor.
Don't
Those two things.
fixate on the floor
It
thing.
makes a noise.
Don't fixate on the
When I
floor
use
thing. Or the noise thing.
Okay. Well, it's hard not to. They're quite defining characters. I can hold it.
They were
though.
bad questions.
I can. I thought they were great questions. I can hold it, but I'd leave it on the floor instead. What is going on? I can wear it.
You don't have to use it 100% of the time. So when you're not using it, I'm going to put it on the floor. Maybe you don't keep
I'm
yours on
think
the
about
floor.
Things that I don't own that are like within this, and not that I own a lot of things, but like, okay. Can I put stuff in it?
Yeah.
Is it a rucksack?
Yeah.
Is it a built for athletes bag?
Yeah.
Damn straight, I'm never owning one of those. Okay, we got there.
Yeah.
Just for those that are wondering where that brainwave came from, I just looked about a meter to the left of the camera and my rucksack's there.
On the floor.
Which it's actually not. It's on a work, it's on a toolbox. That's what it's on. Well, okay.
Oh, sorry.
So
you
I
keep it on a toolbox.
I think I got, yeah.
That's what threw you.
Yeah, 100%.
Shame.
Okay, I got there within 21 questions, so I've completely redeemed myself. Emma, I'm so sorry. I know you're a regular listener. We'll rearrange the guest podcast. I'll do some more research. Yeah, well, I've embarrassed myself, which means that the podcast has done its job.
Yeah.
And I think we've actually spoken about some cool stuff there. So you guys, if you want to send in some more topics, like I said, it's always appreciated. I think we can talk about everything, so we will do
for a long amount of time.
And if things have been pissing you off and it's not us, then do let us know, and we'll include it in the episode.
Even if it is us,
and
we'll include it.
I mean, someone sent a great message about Charles in the last podcast. The way that he was holding the microphone, he's been so hot on it this time, was the claw grip. Do you want to demonstrate the claw grip? No.
I don't want to further embarrass myself. I can't do anything. I'm scrutinized.
You could just go back to the last. You could just go back to the last episode and have a look. But yeah, like always get in touch. It's great to hear from you guys. We want to grow this thing, and we're looking for ways of doing that. So if you've got suggestions on that, or you'd actually just like to be involved, and we should do a live one where you guys can get directly involved interactively, then let us know, because that's something that we would love to do as well. But that has been another episode, which means that the next episode is going to be episode 60.
That's wild, isn't it?
That is wild.
Yeah.
Look how far we've come. Thank you very much for all of your support to date and ongoing support as well. Charles, have you got anything to leave the people with?
I don't think so. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all in the next episode.